Okay, Roberto in New York. Got your two pre-ordered radios here. So appreciate your patience and your support. And because of that, I'm going to include some speakers for you at no additional cost. One for each radio. So you have two different models here, CS558 and CS990. You guys may recognize these. These are kind of branded under other brands as well throughout the world. So this is the KPO version of it, which is they're really good speakers. So obviously, there's going to be different brands that have the same makeup because they're all made at the same factory kind of thing. But these are made in the Philippines. This is the CS990 characteristics right here. This one has a pretty good weight to it, but this one has a really nice weight to it. So this one's a little more weighted, the 558. There's one more speaker I'm going to be carrying as soon as they get some in. It's a little bit larger speaker. I think it's a 5-inch. I'm not fully confident that that's correct, but it is a more squared speaker. That would be really good for like a bass setup, but these would be too. I mean, they have a good sound quality to them and everything. So you're going to get these two speakers for no additional charge, just for your support and your patience. And anyone that's pre-ordered will get a free speaker. More likely it will be the CS990 will be the free one. And if you've pre-ordered through like the mail, which some customers have where they've sent me the funds via mail, then you'll get a free speaker too, probably the 990. So with that in mind, we have this radio already done. This is the one I'm going to demonstrate. This one is still new in the box. It'll be exactly the same as this one. So this one is ending in 06. So that's the one that I'm going to bring into the camera view here in a second. One more thing to note, the radios all include a PC programming cable. That's about a $20 value that's just included in the price. That way, if you need the PC programming software, which you can get from me, you can use it to customize the radio however you wish as a user. So I highly recommend that each and every operator that has a radio that's PC programmable take advantage of it, because you can set it up how you want it. I never know exactly how somebody might want it. That's up to the individual user. So I kind of set it up in this format, which I think works well for everybody, but somebody might have a better idea of what they want, and they can do that themselves. So I encourage that, and hopefully those that want to do it can do it. And the programming cable is required, just plugs right in the back. There's nothing you have to open the lid for at all on this radio. So let's show the new feature that it has really quick. So we go into our menu. So you have a dim function now. We're in dim 1, here's dim 2, and dim 3. So that dimmer just dims this in the channel selector. So you can dim it down. On this radio, it was never really that bad, the brightness, but I'm assuming that if CRT is going to do what they've done with this one, the dimming function on that blue display will probably be much welcomed, because it has the white numerical frequency counter with that bright blue display. And I've always preferred the look of this radio. It's more professional and more like subtle to my eyes. That blue, although it's nice, it really can give you eye strain, I guess, over an extended period of time. So I really enjoy this radio over the 6900V, and that's why I quit carrying that. And I know that many others in the US started carrying it, and that's good for them. I mean, it's a good radio, don't get me wrong. I've sold a lot of those in the past. So, but this one is my all-time favorite, and this is the one I'm going to be carrying for the time being until they're sold out. So we're just going to cover a couple things here. I have the 12-meter amateur band programmed into band A. So you can see here it'll go to 52, and then after that it just goes back to default. So you have your whole amateur radio band here. Again, if you want to change this and put this in band D or C or whatever, you can do that. You can fully customize. You have 60 allocations per A, B, C, D, E, F. So you can put 60 frequencies in any of these wherever you want, however you like it. You don't have to follow what I do at all, but this is just how I do it. And these are how the radios are going to come. So just to give someone an idea, of the sideband capability on this radio. We can see that our clarifier isn't at 12, and that's something you guys got to go get away from. If you're not using a traditional CB, that's not necessary. On a traditional CB that will only have a function for a clarifier as receive incremental tuning only, unless somebody modifies it, unlocks it. But we're not talking about that. We're only talking about a 40 channel CB with a clarifier. Its design is only to tune someone in. This is a multi-purpose VFO clarifier, more so a VFO. How I have it set in the menu, it's a VFO. So let's say that so-and-so is on this frequency here, but he's tracking for some reason his transmitter's 20 kilohertz high. Okay, well we can do that rather easy. We'll go here and we'll move this 20 up. Okay, now we're tuning him in perfect, but we don't want to transmit 20 off. So when we transmit, we want to see there, you see how it flashes over? So we're still transmitting on frequency, and that's how I like to use these. This is a ham radio, so you have to understand that this is now an XIT here. If we wanted to transmit to him 20 kilohertz high, we could do that by doing that. So the moral of this story is, wherever you have the numerical set here, when you go into the transmit side, this will also transmit there. So if we want to, let's say we want to move this to here, now when we transmit, you see how we're there still. So what we would have had to done is get rid of the 2 there on the transmit. See what I mean? If you don't do it correctly, it'll stay where it was. So there are 2 independent adjustments. So we'll go back, see how that flashed. So it's kind of a learning thing for those that don't fully understand. Now that's off, but we're transmitting on a separate frequency. That's fine because that's how it's set up. So if we want to go back to here, now on transmit, how I made that flash, we go into TX, and you can see when I'm transmitting because it's going to TX. So now we can move this here, or we can move it anywhere else we want. Want to transmit here and receive here, we can do that. It's a total separate setting in the radio. You got a receive setting and a transmit setting, and you don't have to use it like that if you don't want to. There's other settings in the radio, but I find that this is very useful for what I like to do. And again, that's why setting it up with the, and now if we want to move this one, we can do that and see how it flashed. Now when we transmit, it's going to always stay, it's going to always stay there. I'm trying to hold the camera, I'm trying to key a mic, and I'm trying to do stuff. It's a little difficult. So hopefully you guys get the gist of that. Now it's back to, you know, where it is. So if you don't like that, again, you can change the settings in the menu, and you can make it receive and transmit together, however you want to do it. But I think for amateur radio and for all types of radio in between there, between here and the other band up above, this is a very useful way to use the radio. Okay, moving along here, we'll go to band B. I didn't change anything there, so that's going to be your normal, what most of you guys would be used to. Band C, kind of the same. Band D, what I did change here is give you the opportunity to go from channel 1 all the way up to 605, or if you wanted to, you could take this up a little bit more. And you can, like I say, you can make every one of these bands go up to 60 if you want to. And this doesn't have anything to do with what you'll see here. You can make this anything you want. Just because I made it line up doesn't mean you have to. So you can forget about this and start looking more at what you see here. So this is just like a memory slot now, but I did make them line up because I think some understand that a little bit more. But it doesn't have to be like that. Like when you go here, this doesn't mean anything now. You're looking here, not here. So this is memory slot 1, 2, 3, that kind of thing. So it's not a difficult radio to use at all. So we have some amateur radio frequencies up here. The full 10 meter technician class portion you can use. So all the way down into the CW if you want to use CW. So it's all there. Again, the same thing applies here. If you're on this band and you want to go here, which most will probably understand this. So if someone says go to 380, okay, we can do that. We can tune our receiver there. We can transmit and we can tune that there. So simple enough. Just don't forget to switch them back. So if you want to go back, probably best to switch the transmitter there first, then do the receiver. So now for whatever reason we're at 12, but again, that doesn't matter. If you're listening here and you still want to transmit here and the guy is like way off frequency like that, now he's being clarified in by the VFO and you're staying right where you should. So I think it's simple. Again, if you don't want to run it like that, there's other ways to run it. So now we're going to move on to how the radio performs, so I'll be right back with that. Okay, here's going to be the AM/FM transmit frequency. So that's as close as I can get this radio. We're looking at like very small difference there between 3850000. Keep in mind this is 00 past the normal 385.00. So these two here, if they were at 00, then the whole thing would be, that's quite a bit of resolution bandwidth there for a frequency counter, and it's looking really good. It's going to sit there and be stable, so you're right on frequency. If you were going to look at this on like a radio with an SDR display, pan adapter, they wouldn't be able to tell the difference really between that, what we're seeing on the counter, and what they would see. They would show you as on frequency. So same thing's going to apply for sideband. It's right on frequency. It'll always sit there. So this has that modern board in it. As far as power goes, with the RF power up all the way, you're going to be at 8 watts or so all the way up, and then all the way down you're going to be at 1, and the RF power is right here. So you can see here, this is how I set these up. There's about 1, and now with it all the way up, it's just slightly, yeah, right around 8. Just like I said, FM, about 35, 36, somewhere in that range. I don't actually change that. I leave that alone from the factory. Then all the way down is 1 watt. Pretty darn close anyways. So I do increase the deviation on FM to a full 4 kilohertz, which is now accessible. Before it wasn't. I think on these before, the most you could go was like 2.8 or something like that, but they've improved something in the firmware, so now you can go a full 4 kilohertz, which is nice. Same thing with the dimmer. It's a nice feature that we didn't have before. We'll start in power and sideband with the power all the way up. I think the talkback is on this, so I do apologize if I squeal, but I wanted to demonstrate the echo really quick, that it does have a front echo control, which is nice. For that, 1, 2, 3, check, check, 1, 2. It's a really nice echo board. It's fully controlled by the front controls. If you want to hear your Roger beep, you have to turn that beep function on. The downside to that is it will beep every time you click something or change something. So you got emergency channels, you can program those in. I don't change those. That's why you'd want to use the PC programming software, so we can turn our Roger beep setting on. So to understand these controls here, whatever you see on the top is what this button does if you just short press it. There is really no long press option, but just press it once. The top controls, so all these controls here, emergency, SWR, plus 10K, scan. If you want to use the bottom of each one, you have to hit function first. So we hit function and we'll turn the LCD screen off. Okay, now it's off. We want to turn it back on, obviously the same. So hopefully that makes sense. If we want to turn our SRF meter off for some reason, we could. I don't know why you'd want to, but it's there if you want to. But you have to function lower button first. High cut. If you hit it once, plus 10K. So pretty simple setup here. Nothing really has changed there. Check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Check, check. Nice echo. Now you can hear your Roger beep come through. I did program that in. It's a different sound from the factory. So I put that one in. It's like an HR2510. I like that one a lot. So now we'll measure our power with it all the way up on sideband. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. These are a nice, powerful little radio for what they are. Yeah, you're not getting 100 watts out, but you know, 50 watts, pretty darn close, is good enough for me. I've always been really happy with these. These are really clean compared to some of the other more modern radios. This one is very clean. 1, 2, 3. I just lowered the RF power back some, so now you can see you can fully control it with the RF power, which is really cool. There it is there. This is your RF power on the inner control. So 12 o'clock it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Check, check. 1, 2, about 20. So if you need to run something with it, you can control that. We'll go to AM now. Turn this all the way down. This is our 1 watt setting. Right around to 1 watt. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Hello. You can see it's got some pretty good forward swing to it, you know. It's not as feeble as some of the other more modern radios that came out. This one seems to still get up and get out. For the guys that like AM, modulation is excellent on these. As most of you would already know that own these. So I can turn it up now, say to 12 o'clock. It's about 3.55 watt, and then you can see now we're almost hitting the full power of the radio. If we turn it up all the way, which is about 8 watt, at about 8 watt, then we're seeing almost 50. So she definitely is a capable little radio. May not be the highest power, but again, it's more about what I see, and the performance just for me is just over the top. I really like how these radios work. It's more of like the traditional with a lot of modern features, and it's very easily laid out. A lot of the main stuff you'd want to use is here. You do have a noise reduction circuit. Now that's one thing that some of the more newer models that came out like after this one with the new board that was in this one, remember this was the first, so we can all say that we enjoy all these new radios that are spot on frequency and all that, but this was the first one that was released. So of course it's been updated now with some more features and stuff. There's your dimmer. We'll move along some of these other features. Here's our noise reduction. It's non-adjustable, so you only have one setting, but it's a good level. You see how it quieted down that FM. If we go to sideband, we don't have any noise because we're not on an antenna, but there's your noise reduction, so you can turn that on and off. Well, when you want to get out of the menu, just short press that. Just press it once and then you're good. So I have your noise gate on. So when I'm transmitting here, the NG lights up. That's the setting before that. It would say NG. That just helps cut down on some bleed over, is all that, or I'm sorry, not bleed over, but talkback squeal. So obviously you get too close, it's going to squeal, but you know, in a vehicle or something, or even sitting on a base with like a desk mic or something like that, you're going to probably want to run that NG on if you're going to run talkback, or just keep the level down. Excuse me. So I can shut our echo off. We'll go in and shut our talkback off. There's our noise gate. We'll shut that off. NOG is going to be your talkback. The control that we just saw before, which was menu number 10, was your mic type. So I don't recommend ever switching it to EL for any microphone unless you have a electret condenser mic that needs to be powered from the mic socket here, which it will work with some microphones that are 4-pin, but chances are the mic up and down won't work. So if you have like an Anytone Aries 2 or a Radio Oddity QT40, it will have a 4-pin plug and it will work, I assume, but your channel up and down won't work because this has a mic that's special to it. It has an auto squelch function in the middle and it has channel up and down. So I wouldn't recommend running any other mic on this except maybe an aftermarket, something 4-pin. And with these mics, I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I do disconnect the 4th wire off the PCB and I heat shrink it and stick it up under the battery. There's a little screw that comes out, and that's where it kind of hides the wires coming out of the cord that go up to the PCB. I put that up back under there, and then I put that plate back on and screw it on so that it's protected and all the wires are hidden away, and then the battery sits on top. So I do disconnect that for you because the fourth wire on this radio is hot, the RX wire, and it's well known with all the radios going back to like the what the heck was that one called now, the Top Gun Quad 5 or something, you know, that you don't want to have a standard 4-pin plug with the RX wire connected. Although I'm not saying that it will damage the radio, but there's a good possibility that it could, and you don't want to damage your new radio. So it's always recommended, whatever 4-pin mic that you have, it could be anything, disconnect that RX wire either at the plug or at the mic, preferably probably at the mic, because then you can always connect it and you don't have to sit here and take all these little screws out and redo it here. It'd be easier to do it at your mic. But if you purchase a NM532 with the bundle and save, I do that for you with this radio. So, or if you purchase one of the NM532 P4s on the website, just tell me that you want me to disconnect the RX wire and I'll do it at no additional charge. It only takes me a couple seconds to do that. And then on all your 10-meter radios, you don't need that RX wire anyway, so you'd only need that on like a Cobra or a Uniden or something like that, something that needs that to produce sound out of your speaker. This, you don't need it. I can sit here and disconnect the whole mic from the radio and it doesn't need it. So this is kind of just like a refresh and an overview of this radio. I didn't show any of the test equipment. I might do that on another video for another customer or something, but these always work really good on the test equipment. It's super clean. The third order intercept, for those that care about sideband, we'll show that really quick, just because I think that should be noted that these are much better than some of the other more modern 10-meter radios. Okay, just to show, I got a radio transmitting here. Here's our two-tone, looks really good. And then we're looking up here at our two peak 1 and peak 2, which are pretty much sitting at the same level, which is what we want to do the test. Now we'll go to TOI, so we're already there. So it's about a 23, which is way better than some of the more higher power 10-meter radios that I test here and sell. So this is a much cleaner signal. If we add 6 to this, we're somewhere around 29 point something, which is outstanding for a radio. You know, that's going to be a lot closer to some of your more modern, like high-end HF, or, you know, even like entry level, which would be way more expensive. Like something like this would be considered an entry level, but at the same time it's very expensive. So this is going to give you a more quality sideband transmission, which is much cleaner and going to give you a sense of you know, professionalism on the air, if that's what you're looking for. Okay, that's it. Roberto, appreciate it, and we'll get these ready to send off to you probably today, hopefully, if not tomorrow. Depends on what happens here today. If it's not today, it definitely will be tomorrow. Thanks again. Appreciate your patience and your pre-order. For those that are always hesitant maybe to pre-order something, you never know. Like if you pre-order, I always come through with what I deliver, and you never know what you might get as something just for your loyalty, which is, in this case, he's getting 2 speakers, that one and this one. 73, everybody, take care.